All right, gang, we're here with God King, a story in the days of King Hezekiah, and we are on chapter 16. And chapter 16 is entitled The Sea and the Smoke. Something strange had happened. There had been a trembling in the earth. "And did you see the shadow in front of the tent?" said Amos. "It has moved back." There was a tremor in his voice. It moved back. The sun itself moved back. The sun had moved back from west to east. Time itself had moved back. Not far, just a little, but it had moved. It couldn't be, but it was. What did it mean? Was it an omen? What did it foretell? Was it for good or ill? Amos thought he knew. The awe in his voice turned to excitement. "Beware, O Assyrians, Yahweh is still in his heavens." The desert crossing was over. They had come to the walled city of Gaza, but Gaza would not let them in. "Your trouble," they were told by a guard. "You are under the curse of the Almighty." "What Almighty?" The chief was indignant. "We are faithful servants of the Baals. The Baals have never cursed us." "Not Baal," the guard made the sign against evil. "The king, the great king." "What king?" "The king from the north, Sennacherib the Almighty." The chief spat on the ground. After a moment's stunned silence, the guard cried out in horror. "Get out! Get your cheap stuff out of here! You're not getting us in trouble with the Assyrians." Cheap stuff. Taharka was as angry as if he himself had been insulted. There were goods from the Nile in the Mukri packs, expensive Egyptian pottery, fine cloths from Cush, jewelry of gold and turquoise mined in the desert. Some of the younger Mukri spearmen wanted to fight, but the chief knew it was no use. Gaza was a big town of the Philistines, well guarded by its militia. The little caravan wouldn't stand a chance. "Something has happened. They never kept us out before. We will move on to Ascalon. It's only a half-day's journey. May the Baals protect us from what we may find there." The desert was behind them. They had come to a narrow green strip of coastal land with fig trees and mulberries, olive groves and fields of wheat and barley. The ground was covered with scarlet and blue flowers. Taharka had never seen such a land, and no river, no Father Nile, to water it and keep it green. What a wonder! "We are past the time of the winter rains," said Amos, "or you would soon see why we have no need of Father Nile." Water from heaven, as in the forests Mbuta had told him of, the forests of his birth. Taharka wished that he could see it. And as they drew closer to the coast, he really could smell salt on the breeze from the west. "The sea," he said. "When we come to Ascalon," said Amos, "you can see it." But suddenly, Taharka felt that he could not wait till they came to Ascalon. A kind of mad impatience rose up within him, and before he himself knew just what he was going to do, he had jumped onto Hermas's back and trotted off from the caravan straight to the west. He was guided by the smell of the salt and then by a strange sound, like nothing he had ever heard before, the surging of the sea, the soft roll of the waters. And suddenly there it was, water, endless, out to the horizon, blue and glinting sparkles of gold beneath the sun. The end of the world, thought Taharka, filled with awe. Nothing out there, nothing ever again but water. What ship would venture out beyond that short white line of surf, on, to who knew where or what? And yet he knew it was not the end of the world. There were ships that ventured out. It led to Talos's land and unimaginable places beyond, places where white rain fell and savage people kept themselves warm with the skins of beasts. He was dreaming, The water had drawn him into a kind of sleep. He blinked and shook himself awake. He must ride back to meet the caravan. He wished he could stay forever, lulled and enchanted by that vast, monotonous blue and that strange, restless, never-ending sound. What was that in the air? Not the salt, not the sea. There was something new. A strange, heavy smell, faint but foul. Smoke? Had he imagined it, or was it getting heavier? I must get back quickly, he thought, but at least I have seen it. Once in my life, I have seen the sea. The caravan never reached Ascalon. The smoke in the air hung heavy now. What lay before them had come to meet them. One moment, the horizon lay before them clear and green. The next, as in Talos's story, it was black with men and horses blotting out the sun. And for the first time, Taharka saw them, the Assyrians. That, chapter 16. The sea and the smoke.